Hello everyone, I'm Pastor Dave Deckard and welcome to our fourth and final video on the intersection between faith and suicide. Today we're going to talk about ways communities of faith can get a little bit better evolving to deal with issues of depression, suicide, and disconnection. And the very first thing that we can do is make more space for people to share and hear each other's stories of vulnerability and pain. Most of us grew up with the idea of church is a pretty perfect place full of pretty perfect people where you go to be on your best behavior. Now that may make mom and dad happy, but it leaves almost no space if you are feeling out of sorts, not okay, or depressed and suicidal. The truth is, nobody sitting in the pews is perfect. Everybody feels like they're a little bit out of sync. Everybody could use some time and space to share those stories, but nobody perceives that anybody else is feeling the same way. This leaves one feeling isolated from each other, from God, and from the help that is literally sitting right there around us if we would simply connect to each other and admit that none of us are perfect and all of us in one way or another have probably been there. Another thing we really need to do is start getting comfortable with the idea of God in the midst of imperfection. We've often taught about a God who is legal and who wants everybody to be shiny and perfect without taking into account that Jesus Christ went to the cross and took all our imperfections upon himself, literally became united with them, which means God is with us today, tomorrow, and every day in the midst of all the ways that we are broken. God does not demand perfection from us. Instead, God accompanies us and loves us in the midst of our imperfections. We also need to get better at talking about God as the God of life, death, and resurrection. We all like to define our lives the way we want them, and that's fine. But we tend to emphasize the parts of God's story that support our lives the way we think they should be. The truth is, none of us last forever. We all die, and we depend on God's mercy to resurrect us and live again. This is true for people who live 90 years. This is also true for people who take their own lives. When we have discomfort talking about our own mortality and God lifting us up beyond our choices or our ability to save ourselves, we also exclude all the people who suffer and who don't get life on their own terms and leave them out of God's mercy. One last point of emphasis is to create more intergenerational opportunities in communities of faith. Recognizing that mental health issues span all generations, but can be especially problematic when you're young and still finding your way. Now, we're not going to be able to do this right away around the issue of mental health or suicide or depression because we don't have the relationship yet between generations in order to make that safe and comfortable. In order to build trust, we're going to have to do a lot of things together that are more normal and easy and fun, so we get to know each other and people can figure out how to talk and listen to each other. And then when that happens, we can begin to talk about some of these things that are deeper, but also very much matter to all of us. We've come to the end of our videos on faith and suicide, but as we've said several times, this is not meant to be a fix. Our problem is not that we lack solutions. Nobody really has all the answers. Our problem is that we fail to bring up the subject in the first place. And when we do that, we leave out in the cold those who are experiencing depression, those who are suicidal, and those who have lost loved ones. God is together with all these people, loving them and caring about them every day. As communities of faith, we need to be more active and aware in following God's footsteps and accompanying these people too. I hope that your community of faith will begin a discussion on these issues so that together we may create churches that are warm, wonderful, and able to deal with difficult topics, knowing that faith and love abound for us all.